Hi, I am Chris McCoy, and welcome to a very special edition of the Memphis Flyer podcast. This week is our 20 under 30, where we ask our readers to nominate 20, not 20, we ask our readers to nominate some of the best and brightest folks in Memphis under 30 years old. And then we select 20 of those and interview them and feature them in our newspaper, in our cover story, to introduce you, Memphis, to who your future leaders are. And I've been doing this for a few years for the Flyer, and it's a lot of work, but I've come to really enjoy it because I get to meet some really, really great people, and some of whom I've kept in touch with over the years. And so what we're doing today, of the 20 that we selected this year, 19 of them did Zoom interviews. So I'm going to bring you cuts from their interviews right now, so you can meet these folks and get to know them just like I did. So without further ado, here is your Memphis Flyer 20 under 30 class of 2025.
Maybe on a mic night and do that, I kind of got pulled into being a music major at my school. And that was when I kind of started getting to trying to figure out what I wanted to do with music. And then I didn't really start writing songs till my junior year of college. I started recording. And that's also when I picked up guitar. But I didn't start a band until 2017, after I graduated college. I graduated in May. And then I formed a band to play this show that we ended up getting dropped from. So we put together a last minute show to play at P&H. And that was the first time I put together an actual band. And even then I was still doing mostly solo stuff. And the band didn't really start playing consistent shows until 2018. So that was the first band I actually had. I mean, I played in my school band in college, but that was an ensemble band. It was kind of a little different.
Band.
Yeah, it was a little different. So it was so my only band experience was right after college. So I kind of got into it pretty late.
Where'd the name come from?
So we actually were called St. John, actually. So when I started doing solo music in college and then brought into the band, it was St. John, but we kept getting confused on Spotify with this heavy metal band named St. John, to the point where some of our songs would show up and some of their songs would show up on our profile. So I was like, oh, we need to change the name. And I remembered I'd done an EP called Black Hippie in college that I never let anybody listen to. And so I was like, oh, so I did a poll on Facebook to see which one was the best one, and Black Hippie won. It was that and some other solo name I used to go by. So that's why I became the name of the band. But the whole thing comes from what my mom used to call me when I was a kid. Because I was a pretty weird kid. I feel like anybody that meets me as a person can quickly tell I was a strange child. So mom would call her my little, her little Black Hippie. So that's kind of where it comes from. Oh. And the V is because it looked cool on Instagram when I was 19, 20. So that's where the V came from. And now I just stuck with it because I was it does look sick,
So we're falling short in the need for education and advocacy. Education wise, there's so much information out there that is not being condensed down for parents. But on the other end, there's not enough information about specific needs of the people. So honestly, there's a lot of information about nutritional education for moms, but there's not enough information on how to take care of yourself during your pregnancy and postpartum. Everybody hears about the baby blues and that, postpartum depression is a real thing, but there's not a lot of, like I said, in the same sense that there's not enough advocacy for the parents out there. There's nobody to walk and hold the mom's hands and say, hey, once again, you're not by yourself. You're not the first person to go through this. And if you are, let's find out more ways that we can make you comfortable, ways that we can make the baby comfortable as well. Also, I want to say, especially in teen pregnancy and just young moms, there's so much push for moms to immediately go back into school and, hey, you need to go ahead and get your degree. But it's not giving those, especially those young moms, enough time to recuperate and for them to process. I just had a baby. My body is different. My mindset is different. I am a child who has to now take care of another child. And honestly, having those moms have the support. So one thing that I learned when I was working in WIC and I love my teen moms. Those were my favorite people to just talk to because they express so much emotions and they ask the important questions of what do I do next now that I have this baby?
So for me, as a trans man, specifically a Black trans man in Tennessee, honestly, like completely honest, I'm terrified about what the years to come could hold. Um, I recognize that I've had some privileges to be able to have, my top surgery. I was able to get testosterone. Um, and I think about all the folks who don't have that access. And that's the reason why I'm in this work and I will continue to do this work as long as I can. Because while I may not be from Memphis, I'm not from Tennessee, as we discussed earlier. Like Detroit and Memphis are sister cities, and somebody has to fight. Like I'm not fighting in Detroit because Detroit doesn't need it. Like granted we're under the same presidency, but Detroit and Michigan as a whole is a little bit more democratic, a little bit more progressive. Um, so like with my fear, I just take it and use it as fuel to keep working because I'm scared, but I'm in this work and I can, I have the ability to advocate and other people don't. So it's really for me, like I said, it's using the fear to fuel the fight.
I want to build a Memphis that is open and more, how can I say this? I want to build a Memphis that when we look back on it, we can say, yep, that was the turning point. It's a lot of negativity going around just Memphis in general. And I say the negativity is the one that attracts the more eyes. But there's also equal or greater amount of positivity that going on that needs to be more shown to it. So I say us youth and the young leaders, we have a chance to really make that positive and be the reason why this is the eyes that needs to be on Memphis. This is the Memphis that's going forward. This is the real Memphis, as I say. This is real Memphis. You got young leaders like I just did Embark, and I met so many people that I was like, wow, I've never met y'all. I know Memphis is a small city. I never met y'all, but we all have the same mindsets. So we can put this into the city. The city respects anything that you work hard, that you grit and grind for, and it's gonna love you back for it.
Through All World, we work with Meta on a number of capital projects. And the very first project that I had a chance to be a part of and eventually get a chance to lead was their electric bus program, which was for the procurement and implementation of up to 50 electric buses within their fleet. And, with everything happening with Meta now, you can tell that there are a lot of stakeholders involved that all have the same common goal to improve and increase the amount of buses and also just the reliability of the service. And kind of looking into innovation, these electric buses, the plan is to incorporate them in their fleet and then also retire buses that have reached their useful life. And also just leveraging the amount of federal and state funds that have been made available through the infrastructure reduction. The Inflation Reduction Act and the Build Grant, being able to move towards that innovation. So within our team, we helped them prepare the RFP to be released to different bus vendors, and then we hosted a demonstration program so different vendors could come. We actually tested the buses throughout the city, trying to see the state of charge after running at certain times. And this was around the summertime too, so we had to consider the warm weather that we had experienced in Memphis as well. And then also we had a comprehensive maintainability period where different departments within the agency could come, check the bus out, open the hood, look on the undercarriage, ask questions, and understand, the components of an electric bus.
The CLC is a nonprofit law firm here in town. And what makes CLC really unique is that unlike some of the other legal aid organizations you may be familiar with here, CLC offers their services at a low cost and on a sliding scale, depending on household income and household size. This is because other legal aid organizations and other public interest law firms are really generally bound to only being able to serve people who fall below 125% of the poverty line. That's roughly about $42,000 for a family of three, $18,900 for a single person. So if you were a single individual, Chris, and you were about to get evicted from your home, or you got scammed out of a car, you go to one of the typical legal aid organizations, they will tell you that you make too much money. So Community Legal Center, we're about filling in that justice gap and helping out the people that are in the forgotten middle. So people who probably make too much money to qualify for free legal services, but at the same time, they don't make enough to afford a private attorney. I'm here to make a just Memphis. Simple as that.
Why do you think people are not connecting with politics on that level, like enough to even show up and vote? And how can we change that?
It starts with our young people. It starts with our young folks. We actually have a lot of students that are unaware. So when I went to Tennessee State University, I started the, bus for polls, and a lot of students just didn't even know that they could even vote, so it goes right back to where we started of why aren't we educating, and you don't know who you're supposed to go to, where you're about, how am I supposed to register, where's my precinct, things like that. And I hope and my wish to every school, university, is that we could do better with that in educating our students so they can be involved, because our students is the future. They are the ones that are going to be in these leadership positions. They are going to be the ones in my position, in your position. They're going to be the ones to keep us moving forward. And if they don't know what they're supposed to do, then we're going backwards. And I'm sorry, I don't know about you, but I can't come back and save everybody. I'm going to be 130 years old.
I understand from your nomination that you're the first generation of your family to graduate from college.
That's right.
Yeah. So what does that mean to you?
It means a lot of things. It's at one point it was pressure. At one point it was stress. And as time went on during high school, during college, I learned to make all that stress and pressure into motivation. And that, I don't know at what point it happened or at what point it clicked, but that's when I turned that, that's when a new fuel started, a new fire started within me that said, I got to keep going. I got to keep doing this, not necessarily just for my parents and my family and everyone else. I got to do it for myself as well. So I always had an interest in school and higher education since when I was younger. And my parents just kind of just always instilled that in me and always supported me in doing all these different types of roles and, and getting honor rolls and getting citizenship awards and getting perfect attendances and all that jazz. So there's a big reason that, on where I am today. But being first generation, it's who I am, right? I get reminded of it every single day. Just being here on this call is an honor for me. Not many people there that look like me or are like me or went to my own community could be in such a position where I'm at, right? So being nominated for the 20 under 30, having an interview with you, Chris, for the Memphis Flyer, being in this room where I'm at right now, right? Planning my next job for where I'm going to within Turner Construction. So it's all just every day I get hit with these things of these little sprinkles of gratefulness, and I always appreciate that in my life because not everyone's had the same opportunities like I have, and I've learned to take them or take advantage of them or use them to the fullest extent possible.
Yeah, so I'm a case manager. I work with youth that have been placed in the Memphis area. And so I'm kind of the bridge between different nonprofits and resources here in Memphis to new and incoming families.
Well, I guess it must be a really difficult time for you and your clients right now, huh?
Yeah, that you could see the least. Yeah, it's really difficult, just trying to stay up-spirited. Memphis has a lot of great organizations that, are putting their efforts to keep doing what they're doing, providing those like wraparound services, no matter who you are, where you come from. And they hope, most of them have, shared that they're going to keep supporting all different types of people. And so hopefully we'll keep working together and supporting, integrating them into Memphis.
So why did you decide to start studying history?
Well, I was actually I got a scholarship to University of Memphis when I was studying Japanese history and language. And I was going through my neighborhood one day and I just had so many questions on, why are we so separated as a city? What led Memphis to be this way? So, and me just having personal interest about that, it ended up becoming my major, and I ended up becoming a urban historian. So, um, that was the beginning of my trek to becoming a historian.
So as a future leader of Memphis, what kind of Memphis do you want to build?
Wow, that is a great question. Of course, and that's a question I deal with often with, being a leader in the Memphis Shelby County School District. I would love to see a more equitable Memphis. I also want to see Memphians, what I love seeing, especially like big things like the hospitality hub. I love seeing things like that in community service because community service is key.
Somebody like you can go anywhere. Why do you want to stay here?
My main reason was because my parents are here. This is, like I said, I was born and raised here. I'm here because like there's just so many memories. My grandparents and my mother, they came here in the 70s. My mom was just about 6 years old. And so my mom was basically born and raised here. So this is home for us. There have been some times where I think like maybe I kind of like want to go and see like what's out there. But I don't know, everything's just kind of like always brought me here. Like all signs kind of like just led me here. Like before Mochi and me, mom and I, we've been in the nail business. Like I was in the nail business with her since I was like 14, 15, watching the store, watching her like grow. Even before then, because even as a kid on the weekends, I would love to go to the shop with my parents and, spend that day with them, even though they were working. So I grew up in the nail shop business. And so when mom came to me and was like, let's open this casual eats restaurant. And I'm like, we don't know anything about the restaurant business. I'm just like, okay, like you're 50 and like you just want to start over a new field is crazy. Not that she's like old or anything, but I'm just like, we've just been doing it for so long. That's all we know.
Yeah.
So that was just like a big change. But, my thing is with mom, I've never really known what I wanted to do in life, but I knew like whatever she wanted to do, I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be there with her as like a part of it. She's like my partner. And so with Mochi and me, I invested myself into like learning how to make the mochi donuts. So like those are all my flavors that I made. I, would come in always early, make sure everything was good. Like I'm always like into the business with her. So even though I know nothing about the restaurant business, we didn't get into it until last year. So not even really a year, but like just a few months ago. But I would like put myself into whatever project we have going on, and then it's kind of grown to like where it is now. So yeah, and then now we have the new business venture that we're in across town. So it's just like every year it's just like she has a new project for us.
I'm interested since being a doctor since I was probably like 11, 12 or so. It's just been something that I've just been caring about because I myself have a heart condition and other health conditions, and just the care that I've received from other doctors, they've inspired me to kind of make sure that other people have that same access. And I know that like a lot of people are getting sick. We need a lot more healthcare nowadays, and I'd like to be able to fill that gap that's growing. I'm a volunteer for area medical. We basically go around mostly Tennessee and to rural areas that are lacking proper healthcare. And we set up these remote clinics there, and we get doctors from around the region to help volunteer. And we usually treat about like 1,000 people each clinic. And it's just such a great opportunity to be able to help those people that haven't had the opportunities yet, and just make an impact on people. You can't really learn how to care about someone from just reading about science all day. You have to go kind of into the humanities, go into like field work especially, and kind of experience humanity, like what it needs, and realize that you're more than just a person. There's a whole story behind you, and you can't just figure that out from reading a textbook.
I like to live other people's stories, like to the best of my ability. I think it's, sometimes being yourself is hard. And so getting away and getting to go and be someone else for a little bit is like what I strive for. I'm like, okay, well, today was a hard day for Haley, but I'm gonna go be someone else for a little bit and just get away from that, put all of that, keep all of that at home for later Haley to deal with. And just like I love dancing. Like I said, my concentration was in choreography. And so it's always like, intrigued me. Like I've studied choreographers and different types of choreography. And it's just like interesting to see how different everything can be. And the same thing with acting. Like you can see the show, it's the same show a million times, but it's never going to be the same because the actors are different. And that's what I really enjoy about it. It's just the interpretations are going to be completely different from, one person to the next.
My official title is Membership and Community Engagement Coordinator. It's a mouthful, but I'm in a lot of different spaces. I manage all of our individual giving and memberships. So if you've ever gotten an email asking to donate to WXR, it's probably from me. I also manage all of our event volunteers. So JB, Jared Boyd, handles all of our DJ volunteers. Any other volunteer at WXR, I handle. Event planning, so I did lead the charge for Raised by Soundfest last year and pretty much all of our stereo sessions. I was raised on public radio, not necessarily community radio. That was kind of a new concept to me, but being able to be introduced to over 100 DJs and all of their individual tastes in music and personalities and what they do in Memphis has been really amazing. I think the station is really rooted and stays true to the mission of building community through music. That's something that has always been important to me. Like I go see shows all the time. I try to meet band members and people involved in music, and WXR does it every single day. And so being able to interact with supporters of local radio and local music, just kind of, it's the dream, honestly.
The Tennessee Innocence Project was opening an office here, and I was working in their Nashville office. And this is the county we receive more applications from, Shelby County, than any other county in Tennessee. And so this was, kind of clearly where the need was. And they asked me to move here and open the office with them. And I said, absolutely. That case was a gentleman named Ricky Webb. He is actually from Gibson County, which is just up the road from Memphis, but he has a lot of connections to Memphis, family and otherwise. So he's sort of a half Memphian, I guess you could say. His case was a 1976 case from Gibson County, really shocking crime that he was essentially framed for. And what we discovered when we started looking into his case almost 50 years later was that there was a lot of evidence that was covered up that really proved that he was in fact innocent. And so his conviction was overturned in October. Actually, it was overturned in August. It's kind of a process. It became formal on Halloween, actually, and he became the fourth longest serving exoneree in United States history. He served just shy of 47 years.
I've always been singing. My mom, her earliest memories of my childhood, she always said I was getting on top of tables and singing to, guests and, convincing her to come to my room for short musicals that I would perform for her and my grandmother. And then I obviously started to notice that I liked singing because every time my friends would play like a talent show kind of game, or like I would always go to singing, and then one thing leads to another, and then I just figured out I love performing. I did all the talent shows and just to have fun, just to like push myself, because I had a little bit of stage fright in the beginning. I think what broke that was musical theater. When I did that in high school, that was it for me. I think I realized I just loved entertaining and making people laugh, and getting into the meat of, acting and singing and evoking emotions through song. And even though I didn't like pursue a musical theater journey, I have such a high place in my heart for that part of my life, because it really brought me to where I am today, where I love, getting up on stage and just seeing people's faces engaged with me and connected with me. And also inspired me to write. When I was in musical theater, that was like the first memories for me of like writing legit songs on a piano. It was a hand-me-down piano from eBay. I think my dad it was Craigslist. Sorry, it was Craigslist, and he got it from like a piano teacher, and like it's really dusty, broken, very out of tune, but I loved it so much because I like learned all of my like skills on there. I just started going to town and like learning on YouTube. I'd put like a little tablet on the side and just like sit there and like clonk on the keys until something sounded good. So, and I want to see Memphis succeed, like more than anything. I tell people, they always, everyone from out of town, like every time I bring up Memphis, they're like, oh yeah, there she goes again, Memphis girl, like champion of and I'm like, yeah, because you guys, I know you don't see it. Maybe if you lived here, maybe if you kind of gave it a chance. I'm always rooting for the underdog, and I think Memphis has always been the underdog.
Great question. I think I got inspired by the mentors that came before me. It started with my little league coach, so that's why I kind of got involved with youth sports and his leadership, and I still do coffee and like little mini sessions with him, just fostering that relationship. And then it transformed. I feel there's a lot of communities that are underserved, so I love working with the Mid-South Food Bank. My general office has a partnership with them, so we try to do the food drives there. Um, the mentorship, also the Hope Center. The reason I partner with the Hope Center is you get to mentor a child, you get to be involved with them, and it's a safe place for kids. So for me, um, giving back, um, giving back to those who are in need, as well as the next generation of leaders, is super important to me because so many people poured into me. So I just want to keep pouring back.
With CTC, we also did a training with Measuring Love. So Audrey Jordan, and she's based in California, wrote a brown paper about measuring love and how, love fused with justice, or love being fused with power for justice, and ways that we use that in community organizing. And so we trained on how to infuse love in our work and love for our community and people, and how we actually practice that. And it came out of that training. My main impact project right now was CTC. And so, considering my love for Center for Transforming Communities and my experience with the Four-Way, which is also a big reason they feel like I had a unique access to community members by having being a part of, ownership of the Four-Way, which I agree. And so within the food aspect and public health, I came up with a unique way to capture stories. And so my project that I'm doing right now with CTC is a community cookbook specifically based in South Memphis to honor people like me and some of my friends who are third, fourth, and fifth generation South Memphians, because there's such a rich legacy in our community, just just through generations, that I've noticed over time that a lot of young people don't even realize, how much history it is right next door to them or down the street in Memphis. And so really trying to like capture the history and voices of our community by our community. So authentic voices of people who live. We currently live in Alcibal, but I grew up near Hamilton and near Castelia. So people I know have been living in their houses for 40, 50 or 60 years. I've had some people that come to my community meetings talking about how like she's been in her house for 60 years and just how land and food impact our life and our health experiences. And so I chose a cookbook because there's something nurturing and loving about capturing like people's authentic stories, especially around food, because I mean, we know one way to get people together is when we have dinner or a party or something. Like food is always going to bring people together. And so I was trying to figure out a creative way to tie in food with health. And so our goal over this time of creating the cookbook, which is actual community input. So I have about 16 residents who are helping with the interview process, the research, the background, and all that. And so essentially we're going to collect recipes and stories and identify or just like capture the familial stories of South Memphians, but also use those stories to inform policy. So tying in the food justice with our communities being food insecure and struggling with like food deserts or access to healthy foods even, because a lot of people still garden. And that was one thing I found in my time of just like organizing with people, that it's not a lost practice. It just feels lost because it's not as common compared to like when I interviewed my grandfather's friends. They literally were like, everybody had a garden. So like us not having a grocery store didn't hinder us, because if we didn't have something in our garden, our next door neighbor had it. And the practice of community just meant so much to them. And it's a lot of, figuratively and literally, a lot of recipes have been lost. So what are ways that we can create a capsule of our history through food, through storytelling, and just like highlighting, how the interplay of those two things have shaped our community to what it is today and what it used to be, and how we can figure out to find some semblance, of community still in a modern time.
As a future leader of Memphis, what kind of Memphis do you want to build?
Gosh, I think if I could sum it up in, I guess, one word, in, I guess, like an innovative Memphis. And where I get that from, which I think we're already doing that in many areas. But what I mean by that is I would like for Memphis to become more of a hub for technology. I read an article, I've seen multiple articles, but there's a couple articles about how Memphis is one of the best places to start your startup, or best cost of living, best place to buy a house and things like that. And I know it has to do with our low cost of living and things like that, but there's just so many companies, Fortune 500 companies and/or, nonprofits, what have you, that pour or bring in, so much money into this city that there's no reason why this can't be Atlanta, why this can't be a better Silicon Valley. I believe Charlotte is kind of creeping up there towards the Atlanta status in regards to, one, young professionals moving there, which I think is a key part in making Memphis be as innovative as it can be, whether it be in my career field, which is in the legal world, or in the arts and music, and then technology, of course, as a whole. But I mean, we just have so much pull that's here coming to Memphis. And I just think that who doesn't want to be a part of Memphis? I mean, everyone steals our swag anyways. You might as well come here